The average American uses 28.9 kilowatt hours of energy each day. Most people are unaware of the footprint their energy consumption leaves behind, and even less aware of their ability to access renewable energy. This is a great cause for concern as our carbon emissions continue to rise and the environmental impacts of our behavior become more and more apparent. In recent decades, wind, solar, and other renewable energy sources have become more widespread in their use, and with advancing technology, it has been proven that a shift to renewable energy could solve many of our problems. However, this isn't going to happen unless we invest in those technologies, something we need to do now more than ever. The US is starting to make the transition towards renewable energy, but it's not happening fast enough. As of 2020, renewable energy sources accounted for only 12% of total US energy consumption.
So in the US, I would say there's like 10 to 12% of our energy that we generate is renewable. I think the plurality, not the majority, of our energy comes from natural gas. And then after that, it's coal, nuclear, hydropower, and then solar and wind, and everything else is sort of like in a small category by itself.
Clean energy is one of the fundamental keys that we have to address for reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
The U.S. energy grid is pretty far from the renewable goals that political leaders and scientists say that we need to get to stave off the worst effects of climate change.
Some states are faring worse than others. Texas, a state with an entirely deregulated energy supply that refuses to be a part of the nationwide electrical grid, also has an average annual household electricity consumption of 14,112 kilowatt hours. That's 36% higher than the national average. This deregulation has already had a detrimental impact on the state individually, most recently when the entire electrical grid shut down during a massive snowstorm in February of 2021, leaving many without power in the freezing cold. This event, in part, came as a result of the severe and unusual weather being brought on by climate change.
And it's not that everything's in a bad place in Republican-led states. I mean, I think Texas actually does have a lot of wind farms, for instance, but, you know, they tend not to prioritize climate issues.
But it sort of depends. It's not just on like how they feel politically, but about the ability to generate renewable energy. Like Maryland doesn't have that much ability to generate renewable energy because we're so like small, and so the offshore wind will really help with that. But without that, I don't think Maryland would really have been able to generate a lot of renewable energy, even though we really want to. So it's sort of a combination of politics and then also the geography of your state.
As a state that has been built on the oil and gas business, renewable energy has never been Texas's top priority, which is why when the snowstorm hit, wind turbines that the state refused to invest in were not equipped with the technology needed for them to defrost in severe winter weather. However, not all states are at this end of the spectrum, and the country as a whole is seeing a trend in the direction of renewable energy.
So definitely I think there's a trend towards renewable energy. And we're now in a state that we needed to be in, that we accept that climate change is real, and that we need to be doing something about it, and that our producing of energy is really having a large impact on the amount of carbon that we're putting into the atmosphere.
I think that there are regional advantages and disadvantages. Different areas of the country probably have different strengths and weaknesses. There's some areas that are going to be good for hydro. There's some areas that are going to get more sun.
It's not just the United States that will benefit from a widespread switch to renewable energy use. Climate change is a global issue, and in reducing our own emissions by taking advantage of renewable technology, we will inspire others to do the same. Renewable energy sources can also provide individuals in developing countries with clean energy and jobs, which is an initiative the U.S. can aid with if we begin our shift now.
We certainly could be promoting rooftop solar and more community solar, and that would be an important piece.
If we're going to be running our economy on clean energy, then we need better batteries to store like solar energy, and also wind energy, because like the sun is not always the same on every day. Like the wind is not always the same on every day.
Individuals also have the ability to force positive change to support the growth of renewable energy.
And so everything from how somebody does laundry to the car they drive to how they commute will have an impact on their personal emissions budget. What they buy at the grocery store, plastics consumed. There's so many different individual levers that can be pulled to move in that direction. But I think the consensus is that, systematic change will have to happen as well.
I think there are a lot of different things that sort of depends on your capacity. Like if you are really busy and you don't have really time to be dealing with policy and policymakers, then I think you can try and change other people's opinion, or you can encourage other people to do the same.
The most important thing is to raise your voice, unite your voices. And there are so many levels at which you can do it, whatever you're comfortable with.
The U.S. needs a push for clean energy now, and we can work together as a country to make it happen.